Hi everyone, and welcome to Echo Tarot. I'm Echo, and today we're going to take a look at what the upcoming year has in store for you. If you're watching when I'm uploading, it's January 2025, so the beginning of a new year, and I figured what better time than the present to take a look back on the previous year at some of the lessons learned and what we're going to be carrying with us into the new year, some of the things to look out for, some of our biggest challenges for the coming year, as well as opportunities for growth. And it's important to note that even though I'm uploading now in the beginning of the new year, whenever you find this, the message was meant to find you. As with all of my readings, they are collective, so of course, use discernment and take only what resonates and leave the rest. Today we're going to do a pick a card reading, so we have 4 piles to choose from. We are using the Light Seers Tarot. The information is going to be in the description box. I will try my best to do that for all of my readings, so whatever decks I'm going to be using, I will put that information there for you. But today we have 4 piles to choose from. They're all going to be using the Light Seers deck. We are using river stones today. If you choose with charms or other things, I'm going to be using different things depending upon my reading, but I really like stones, so you'll probably see that a lot on my channel. I feel like they really help to provide a sense of grounding in my readings. So anyway, we have 4 piles to choose from today. So we have pile 1, which is this small river stone here. I have pile 2, which is this round river stone. Pile 3, this multicolored river stone. And pile 4, which is this sort of triangular small river stone here. Now, I'm re-recording this intro because when I read for your piles, pile 1 does have a trigger warning, so I will do my best to incorporate those into my intros, or at the very least put the information in the description box. There will be a trigger warning there on this pile, and I will also do my best to provide some resources if these messages do resonate with you. Just know you're loved and accepted, and I hope that these readings provide you the guidance that you're looking for. So if you already know your pile, feel free to skip to the description box and go directly to your pile. We are going to start with an energy check to make sure the energy fits for you, and then we're going to take a look at what you're leaving behind from the previous year, what you're welcoming into the new year, some of the biggest challenges for the new year, as well as areas for growth in the coming year. Now, if you need more time to meditate on the pile, take a minute, pause the video, take as much time as you need to really just center yourself, take a few deep breaths, and I would suggest you go with the one that your intuition draws you to first. If you do feel drawn to more than one pile, that's perfectly fine. There might be messages that resonate with you in multiple piles. There were a lot of repeat cards across the piles. So there might be messages that resonate for you across the board, but whatever the case may be, stick around and I will see you in your reading. Bye. Hi, pile 1. If you chose this small river stone here, this is your pile. Just a reminder, today we're going to be taking a look at what the year ahead has in store for you. So if you're watching when I'm uploading, we're at the beginning of 2025 in January. We're going to take a look at what you're leaving behind from the previous year, what you're welcoming in the coming year, some of your biggest challenges in this year, and then also opportunities and areas for growth. We're going to start out with an energy check to see if this is your pile, so stick around. If it resonates, fabulous, you found your pile. And if it doesn't, feel free to go back and choose another pile. Okay, So let's take a look. We have the King of Pentacles reversed, the Nine of Pentacles reversed, the Sun card, the Star, and the Moon. So you've got a lot of major arcana here. I'm getting Pisces and Aquarius vibes. That doesn't have to be you. You know, like I said, take what resonates. If it doesn't resonate, that's okay. I'm seeing, you know, you may find yourself, so if you're new here, which everyone is new here because this is my first video on YouTube, hi. I really love music, and I find I often get messages through music. So you may be a Talking Heads fan. I'm hearing the lyrics for Once in a Lifetime. You may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife, and you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? It's a great song. If you don't know it, absolutely check it out. If music is your thing, then you are going to love my channel, because there's probably going to be a lot of channeled messages through music. And if you have a sense of humor like I do, then you will probably find your tribe, because those are the kind of people that are going to like my videos. So hi. Yeah, so it's funny, I'm hearing a couple of lyrics here as well. So like one of the stanzas in the song is same as it ever was, same as it ever was. So you may have felt like the last year was sort of monotonous for you. Like maybe you weren't making any progress. You may have been like really focused on your bag, getting that Nine of Pentacles, but sort of finding yourself thwarted at every turn. Like there might have been an authority figure that wasn't in support of your goals. This doesn't have to be financial, but just really anything in the material realm that helps you to feel grounded. So, you know, there may have been times in the last year, and even now, where you felt just like things were just topsy-turvy and turned upside down for you. Despite your best efforts to sort of plant your seeds and watch them grow through the year, they might not have been as fruitful as you would have liked. And again, I get the sense that either there's an authority figure in your life, that could be a boss, someone, you know, a supervisor, a manager in your work. It could be a family member, a brother, a father, but I'm getting like a male figure that just wasn't providing that right support for you, perhaps not in support of your independence. The Nine of Pentacles is all about that, you know, upright. The Nine of Pentacles is, you know, she's kind of got it all going on. You know, she's got her own thing going on. She's very comfortable with where she's at, and she's grounded in her own world. She has harnessed the ability to both be grounded but also embrace freedom. Like on this card, similar to the Rider-Waite, you see this bird here in the Rider-Waite. It's a falcon. Yeah, they're kind of dangerous in general and often require taming. But, you know, this woman is very in control of her destiny, and in the reverse position, things may seem a little out of control. You may have struggled to get a handle and to feel like you're stable and you're grounded. But I get the sense in the other other cards here that that's really been important for your own personal growth. It's forced you to look inside and see here with, you know, the moon card here, what is no longer serving you. Kind of take a look at your things that may really seem real to you, but are more illusory, like more illusions. That could be self-perceptions, maybe from those people that weren't the most supportive. You might have taken someone's words to heart, and that may have made it even more difficult for you to find your way here with the Nine of Pentacles. You know, having a support system is so important, but it can be really hard when the people that we trust that are going to support us and our growth are not in support of us. And, you know, we might not always know why. And it can be really challenging when it's someone close to us, particularly if it's like a loved one, like a romantic partner or a family member. It can just be very difficult, and you might feel hopeless. But in those moments, I mean, even when it's a supervisor at work, you know, no one wants to feel unsupported, whatever your relationship dynamic is. It's important, you know, we're social creatures, we're humans, we want to be loved and respected. We want to give and receive support. And I think that's really important, but sometimes not everyone is capable of doing that for us. And it's not always a reflection on us as individuals. It's often, I find when people aren't supportive, it's less about you and more about them. And that can be kind of a hard lesson to accept, but sometimes in the process, we might internalize that, right? And I get the sense that you might have done that throughout the year, really internalized what someone might have said, or just their lack of support. You might have felt worthless, or like you know, were never going to find that independence that you were looking for. But in that process, it's really forced you into a position to like question, is that actually correct? You know, to really question how you feel about it. You know, look in again into this moon card and see, is that true? Is that accurate? Is that reflective of who I am? And at the end of the day, you know that that's not true, because you know, we're all capable of manifesting our highest good, but to do that, we have to strip away those layers of self that other people may have given to us or that we've internalized. And that's where the star comes in. So it's interesting, as you have the star, the moon, and the sun, which is major arcana 17, 18, and 19. So they're not consecutive, but it doesn't matter. Here, actually, the star is kind of the central focus here in the middle, and on either side you have the moon and the sun. And so again, the moon is about like the illusions here, and the sun is, I mean, you can see just the color contrast here. You've got the moon and the sun. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. I mean, they're both important. You know, if we didn't have the sun and the moon, it would be very difficult for us to be able to gauge you know, the cycles in our lives, for things to grow, and then for things to also have the time to rest, so that they can you know, germinate and manifest, and so that the cycles can continue. You know, the moon, you know, the sun keeps the earth on its path and helps regulate our circadian rhythms, and the moon helps regulate the tides. And you know, they're both important, and I think having this sort of yin-yang opposite is really integral to your healing journey this year, and that's where the star card comes in. So yeah, I think that this is really asking you to go inward and draw upon that energy that you know that you have within yourself, to pull yourself away from the influence here of the King of Pentacles and really ground yourself in what you know is your potential for the 9. And ultimately, you're going to come out on the other side with the brilliance of the sun. You know, you're going to see yourself in a new light, and that self is going to be so much less dependent upon the perceptions that others may have of you. So that is what I see for your energy check. If that resonates, fabulous. You have found your pile. If it doesn't, then this pile may still have messages for you. You're more than welcome to stick around, but feel free to pick another pile, and I will see you in your reading. So if that resonated, we are going to take a look at 4 different questions here for 2025 pile 1, the year ahead. And again, as I said, even if you're not watching it, when I'm uploading it, whenever you have found it, is meant to find you. So let's take a look. We are going to look at what you are leaving behind from 2024 or the previous year. We have the King of Cups. So seeing via water sign, Aquarius, Pisces, fire, 8 of Wands, the Emperor as well. So it's interesting. So in your energy check, I also picked up on a sort of like an authority figure here. The Emperor is all about structure. An authority. So in this deck, again, I like the Light Seer's Tarot because it takes a more modern sort of look at the Rider-Waite. The Emperor, you know, is considered the divine masculine archetype, as opposed to the divine feminine archetype in the Empress. Of course, this doesn't have to do with like gender identity, whatever gender you identify with. Everyone is accepted here. This is about energy, so divine masculine and divine feminine energy. We all have both of those within us, and the ideal, of course, is to have them come into balance. These energies both have things to teach us, and if that's something that resonates with you, you may want to look into Chinese symbolism, traditional Chinese medicine that's coming through, so that someone here may need to, that may be important for someone. It's a specific message, but look into traditional Chinese medicine. You may find some of the modalities like moxibustion or acupuncture to be helpful, to help restore some of those energies, bring them into balance. You may look into the concept of the yin and the yang that kind of goes into these sorts of dynamics. But anyway, again, that's very specific, so it's meant for someone. Again, take only what resonates. But the Emperor here is the... in the Rider-Waite deck, it's sort of a more traditional, card, denotes not necessarily the same religiosity or tradition as the Hierophant, but it's a traditional approach to doing things. And you kind of see this reflected here in the Emperor card. You know, this character is dressed very nicely. He's hanging out on what looks to be a chessboard, and of course he is carrying a chess piece in his hand. Which is suggesting, you know, being strategic, being in control. You know, he's just kind of sitting here on this planet contemplating. He looks comfortable with where he's at and contemplating his next step, you know, confident in where that's going to go with eyes open. Meanwhile, this person, you know, is sitting here in quiet contemplation with eyes closed, the King of Cups. The King of Cups is one of the face cards that represents the higher manifestation of the cups. So the cups represent the emotional realm. So this this character has this archetype has an understanding and a sort of ruling over their emotions, a comfort with them rather than being getting carried away with them, or having a more immature understanding of the emotions, like you may see in, say, a Page of Cups or a page of any of the suits. So I think the lesson, what you're leaving behind in 2024 or in the previous year, whenever you're watching this, I think is you're embracing. So I think in the former year, you may have felt pressured to really follow the rules. I get the sense that you're a very sensitive soul. And, you know, I picked up on this in your energy check as well. You may absorb the energies of some people. You may internalize not only their emotions, but the ways they might think. So I would encourage you to maybe also look into centering and grounding, you know, shielding your own energy, setting up healthy boundaries. Because I think in the last year you were really challenged to take your own approach to things. There may have been pressure to take a more conventional approach to areas of your life. I get the sense maybe you were working on a creative project. This could be really anything that sparks passion for you, that really just lights a fire and really gives you a reason to get out of bed. I feel like you're creative, so you could be a writer, an artist, a musician, and maybe you're trying to really put yourself out there and maybe being encouraged to take a more traditional approach, or you were, but you know, you've got to trust, again, trusting your own perception and your own inner knowing. So I think the lessons of the last year are maintaining, you know, keeping that momentum, whatever passion you had in the last year, whatever projects you were working on. If you stop them, this is a message to, you know, to keep going, don't lose hope, keep the fire burning. Maybe seek out other people. Talk to other people about your project, talk to other people about what lights you up, share what you're working on. You know, you might feel the need to be secretive about it, or maybe not putting it out there until you feel it's perfect. But sometimes you never know, if you share what you're working on with someone, you never know, they might be able to help you on your journey. So yeah, and don't feel afraid to go your own way. And again, there's the music again. I'm hearing like Fleetwood Mac. You can go your own way. Go do that. And go listen to Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac is great. That may be important for someone. So you might be a Fleetwood Mac fan. All right, so let's see what you are welcoming in 2025 or the next year, whenever you're watching this. So we're going to keep these cards here to the side. Let's take a look at what you're welcoming in the new year. Okay. So we see a 10 of Wands, the 8 of Swords reversed, and the 8 of Cups reversed. We have two 8s here. 8s, so in the minor arcana, each one goes from the number 1 to the number 10. And of course, you know, the major arcana goes from 0 to 21. It's a cycle, so it repeats over again. The 8s denote that you have 2 of them. And in fact, you had you have the 8 of Wands here in your last as well, as you have 3 8s, which is interesting. And they're all from different suits as well. So it'd be interesting if you also had an 8 of Pentacles. We'll see what the cards have in store. But so far, have the Eight of Wands, that's fire, the Eight of Cups, that's water, and the Eight of Swords, that's air. So you have, almost all of the suits here represented, except the Pentacles so far. Again, we'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see the Pentacles here, because if we go back to the energy check, I got the sense that there was a struggle to really find that groundedness and find that stability. So the fact that the Eight of Pentacles, or at least so far, is missing is not so much of a surprise. So anyway, I'm thinking what you're welcoming in 2025, these may not look like the most positive cards, okay? But for one thing, energy is fluid. Things are always subject to change. You always have will. You always have free will. And again, use discernment, take what resonates, leave the rest. Nothing is set in stone. You always have control over your own destiny. And these readings are really just meant to be a guide. And even though these cards and if these messages that come through may seem kind of scary or daunting, everything that we go through in our lives is meant to teach us something. And I think if you can take that approach with you throughout your life, that every person that you meet and every experience that you have is a teacher, you'll come out on the other side of every one of those encounters and every one of those experiences is a stronger and more resilient person. And sometimes, of course, it can be hard to really see that when we're going through it, but once we're on the other side, it all just kind of makes sense, because that's how life works. Even though it doesn't always doesn't always feel that way sometimes. But so here, what you're welcoming here in the new year, seeing the Ten of Wands. So, it's funny, I was channeling Go Your Own Way by Fleetwood Mac. I mean, that's kind of like what she's doing. She's going her own way, this person on the card. And again, whatever gender identity you identify with, everyone is loved and accepted here. But this person is, just going their own way. They're walking away. It looks like they at one point walked up this treacherous path and walked down with all of this baggage. She's carrying her luggage, suggesting, she's moving on. She seems burdened. But, the animal here is carrying some of that burden. And she's carrying these wands with her as well in her suit, in her briefcase. This may suggest that, what you're welcoming in is not only, leaving behind something that may have been burdensome for you. I'm getting expectations. There were many people in the last year that had a lot of expectations on you, and you're learning how to walk away from that in the new year. So you're learning how to rely on your own intuition and really trusting in yourself. And I think you're also learning to share the burden. You may have often felt the need to really carry your burdens on your own, for fear of burdening someone else. But at the end of the day, part of being a human is learning how to both give and to receive. And allowing someone else to hold space for you if you're going through maybe a difficult time. I get the sense that the last year may not have been the easiest for you. We're seeing here, 2 8s again here, the Eight of Swords and the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Swords is all about feeling bound, and you can see this here in the water. So she's reflecting, and on the one side, she's bound by all of these strings, and then the other, she's outside of it. So I think in the upright, this tends to represent remaining in illusion, remaining bound, but recognizing that we have the ability to release ourselves from our bondage, even though it may not seem like it. You may have been prone to self-sabotage. Imposter syndrome is coming through. That may be That may be important for someone. It doesn't have to resonate with everyone. Take only what fits and leave the rest. But you may have struggled with imposter syndrome. But in the reverse, this suggests that you're learning to release those bonds, cut those ties. And that could be literally, it could be cutting ties not only with ways in which you chose to see yourself or felt like you identified with, but also cutting ties with people. And I get that there may be cutting ties with people specifically that's reinforced by the Eight of Cups. You may be walking away from something that you thought was going to serve you in your greatest good, perhaps in the pursuit of what you were working on in the previous year. Here with the Eight of Wands, maybe you were working on a creative project or really hoping that you were going to get your business off the ground with your teammates. You were going to get that promotion. You were going to get what you wanted, but you didn't have the support that you needed, and you may have stayed longer in that situation. But I think in this new year, you're learning to walk away. And if that means walking, forging your own path and going at it alone, it's difficult, but you're learning to walk towards the sun. And we saw the sun in your energy check as well. So I'm seeing that, this is, while it can be painful, you're welcoming in the gift of self-reliance. So you're learning to be less reliant upon other people and internalize less of what other people think of you and your potential, and really learning to go at it alone. And that doesn't mean alone forever. I think it's important. The Eight of Wands is very collaborative, and I think that that's something that you will work your way towards again. The Eight of Wands is about swift movement towards a goal, really being really focused. And that can happen on one's own, but, no man is an island. I think that these periods, even if you look in the major arcana and you have like the Hermit card, for example, that's coming up. We might find the Hermit in another one of these piles, but the Hermit, which is the 9, which would come after these 8s, the Hermit is about solitude, like contemplation. The Hermit card in the traditional deck, the cloaked figure walks alone with his lantern and is sort of lighting his own path. But after the 9, you go into the Wheel of Fortune and the 10, and then you continue through the journey, and other people become part of that process. So the solitude, that reflection here, that's a temporary part of the process, but it's important for us to learn those lessons. So I think what you're welcoming in the new year is really learning how to listen to your own inner knowing and to be reliant, self-reliant, really relying on yourself and questioning that imposter syndrome. Because you got this, right? I believe in you. But let's look at your biggest challenges here in 2025. Okay, so we've got the Tower in reverse. We've got the Star card again. It's interesting. So that came up again in your energy check. And then we have the High Priestess in reverse. Interesting. So it's interesting that the Tower came up when we're looking at your biggest challenge for the year ahead. The Tower is like the quintessential challenge card. Everything just kind of seems to be out of your control. The Tower can often represent sort of divine intervention. It's like that Deus Ex Machina card, like the hand of God just coming down and fate intervening. It can often feel chaotic and turbulent, like nothing is really within your control. you know, despite your best efforts, things may feel thwarted. I mean, in this card, I think it's interesting, you know, the lightning is striking. Lightning is, you know, it's an act of nature, and it can light things on fire. And as dangerous as fire is also essential for, you know, for rebirth and growth. And we see a bit of the fire energy throughout the cards that you've already had, you know, with the Ten of Wands, you know, the Ten of Wands and the Eight of Wands that we saw previously. So, but you have this in reverse. So I'm getting that one of your biggest challenges here, this is, the Tower is on either side of, the Tower and the High Priestess are both in reverse. So you got a lot of major arcana. Interesting. So you've got a lot of major arcana. And if you take the Tower and the High Priestess, that's 16 and 2, that adds up to 18. And that's after, and 18 is the Temperance card. So that's after the Star card, which is what you have here in the middle. And that's interesting because I think that is sort of what you're learning how to do. That is going to be one of your biggest challenges in this year. It's going to be learning how to balance. Temperance is all about balance. We don't see that card here physically, but I'm picking up on that energy. The Star card has both of these on either side. And again, we saw this in your energy check. The Star is all about healing, connecting, knowing you have within you all of the answers that you need to live your best life and to achieve your highest good. And recognizing that is what's going to allow you to really integrate the lessons that you've learned throughout the last year and the ways in which you're going to manifest in the coming year. With a High Priestess in reverse, I think, you know, upright, this card is about really being connected to spirit, a divine, you know, inner knowing, being tapped into the divinity within you and within everything. Knowing, tapping into your intuition, having that inner knowing, understanding that things move in cycles, both our joys and our triumphs and our and the areas of our lives that are disappointing. Everything is temporary and everything moves in its own time. And upright, the High Priestess knows this intuitively. And you see in this card, the woman has her eyes closed, but you kind of see eyes on top of that. So it's really about reflecting on that inner knowing and knowing that you're connected to the universe. And that there really is no way to go wrong on this path. Reversed, I think that does really point to the challenge here. I think that really being able to trust your own inner knowing is going to be a theme for this year. And again, this kind of builds back on that energy check from the very beginning. I think you're being challenged to trust yourself. I'm definitely still picking up a lot of imposter syndrome, just uncertainty in yourself and your power. You know, just when you feel like you're making progress, something comes out of nowhere and just kind of throws you off your game. But you're always connected, right? You're always in the right place in the right time, even if it doesn't feel like you are. But you are being tested to truly trust yourself. I think that's going to be a big challenge for you this year, is to really learn how to trust yourself. Again, look into grounding your own energy, guarding your own energy, and only, just like in these readings, take only what resonates. it's the same thing with other people. You know, you may have someone here may be maybe an empath, an INFJ. If you don't know what that is, it is one of the MBTI personality types, one of the 16 personality types in the Myers-Briggs. I don't believe that you can necessarily fit billions of people into 16 little personality boxes, but the Myers-Briggs is a great place to start for like learning about who you are. So you might want to go check that out. If you don't know your type, I would suggest figuring it out. There's lots of resources online. You know, again, use discernment, take whatever resonates, but some personality types may be more prone than others to kind of absorb other people's energies and take them on. They may be more energetically sensitive. And you may also be a reflector. That's another personality type. So that, if you don't know what that is, definitely look into that as well. You may be more prone to sort of reflecting other people's energies back at them. And so it may be hard for you sometimes to discern what is your energy and what is someone else's energy, because you are empathetic and because you do tend to sort of be a mirror for other people. It's a beautiful gift if you learn how to harness it, but it can definitely be challenging. You might have a tendency to gaslight yourself. And I don't like to throw around the term gaslight unnecessarily, but it's coming through for some, and I think that it's important that you don't do that. You may feel a tendency to do that because of perhaps some experiences you may have, some people in your life. I'm going to put a trigger warning on this pile. I'm getting that some of you may have gone through narcissistic abuse. You see that term thrown out a lot online by people that misuse it. I think that's irresponsible. I have a background in psychology and understand the importance of the actual diagnostic criteria. It's really important to take those things seriously. If you believe you're in a sort of dynamic like that, or you know that you are struggling with that, absolutely, please, I'm holding you with love and light. Please seek out professional help. There are plenty of resources out there to provide guidance. I know mental health care is really very expensive in many parts of the world. Excuse me. Yeah, you may have trouble with your throat chakra. You may feel like it may be hard for you to speak your truth. So yeah, that got really heavy, and I'm sorry if that resonates. I will put some resources in the description box. Therapy is not accessible for everyone, which is a shame, but it is important that you seek out care. Again, this is very specific, only take what resonates, but I think that might be part of this year's challenge, is really navigating that, whether it's that sort of dynamic, or really just learning to trust yourself. I mean, I think that is a very common human experience, and I think when we do learn to trust ourselves, it's one of the most powerful gifts that we can give ourselves. But yeah, I think on the other side, we're going to see, the star. It may be challenging, but you're going to learn to tap into that, and you're going to have this, healing is here if you let it. But let's look at areas for growth in 2025. So we have the Ace of Cups, fabulous. Oh, these are looking so much better. No cards are bad, but you know, we like these. We like these cards. This is great. I'm loving this energy. So we've got areas for growth in 2025 and what's to come. So I'm seeing the Ace of Cups, the Two of Wands, and the Queen of Wands. Again, you've got a lot of wand energy here. Yeah. So you've got a lot of wand energy here. So lots of fire energy. Someone here might be a Leo. You may be, in the coming year, you may meet a Leo. I'm getting the sense for new, like emotional growth, you know, off the back of these heavy challenges, and the challenges from the previous year. I think on the other side of that is just going to be, the world is kind of your oyster here. I mean, it's really beautiful. This energy is lovely. You're really tapping into your own inner wisdom, you know, your own potential. That fire that you thought might have gone out is back, and like, she's got so many candles here. I mean, she's gonna start a house fire, like in a good way. You know, you might want to get yourself a fire extinguisher. Just kidding. Keep those flames burning bright, because you are gonna unlock your like boss babe year. And again, whatever gender you identify with, I'm using the term in a neutral sense. So, but I get the sense that you're really going to be tapping into your own power here. Off the back of that, you're really going to learn how to trust yourself, and you're realizing like, hey, I can do anywhere. I get the sense that you're going to be doing some travel. You may be like going camping. Some of you may be, I don't know, you might want to be all about that van life. You might start to work remotely and just, you know, go from that, like those challenges from the previous year of really taking things with a conventional approach, like taking this conventional, traditional approach and saying, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. And you're going to do that. So you're going to have, you're going to start forging your own path, and you're realizing like, I can light my own fire. I can light my own fire, and with that, I have the potential to light up the entire world. And I think it's really going to be infectious. People are going to see a shift in your energy. It's really going to be remarkable for you. You're going to feel, I feel like this is really going to be your year. And you're going to have a new opportunity for emotional growth. Yeah, I see this may be in a partnership, but I really see this as you learning how to love yourself. I think this is the year for you. You're really learning how to love yourself and give that love, fill your own cup. You're learning how to fill your own cup and love yourself and trust in your own intuition and your own power to manifest. And that's going to take you wherever you want to go. And you're starting to, you know, this year is going to see you traveling and getting excited for new things, for new opportunities. You know, you may pick up a new hobby as well. Yeah, I get the sense that you're really just, you're going to be excited again this year. I think 2025 is going to be it for you, or whenever you're watching this. This year ahead is really going to be a year full of some challenges, yes, but mostly you learning how to trust yourself and getting rid of what doesn't serve you anymore, and really stripping away those layers that you thought were you, and really figuring out your own inner power. And I think that you're going to really see your manifestation abilities just you're going to be opening the floodgates, and the world better watch out because you've got big plans. And I see that whatever creative pursuits that you had going on, that came up in the energy check with the Eight of Wands, yeah, I see that that's going to happen. You know, you might have felt like all hope was lost in the last year, but, you know, it might have just, you know, changed direction. And instead of, I mean, you've got 8 flames here, but look, this woman's just surrounded by fire, and she's got this infinite supply coming from herself, and nobody can take that away. So I hope this resonates with you, pile 1. I wish you the happiest of New Year's, and I will see you in the next reading. Bye. Hi, pile 2. If you chose this round river stone, this is your reading. So just a reminder, we are looking at what the coming year has in store for you. If you're watching when I'm uploading, it's January 2025. But whenever this message finds you, my readings are timeless. So it was meant to find you now. We're going to look at what you're leaving behind from the last year, what you're welcoming in the new year, and then also some of the biggest challenges for this year, as well as the areas for growth. So as with all of my readings, use discernment, take what resonates and leave the rest. But we are going to do an energy check first, and if this resonates, great, you have found your pile, and if not, then feel free to take a look at one of the other piles. They may also have messages for you. So let's take a look. So we have the Justice card in reverse, the 5 of Cups, the 9 of Wands, the Chariot, the 3 of Cups, and the 3 of Wands. So I'm seeing someone here might be a Pisces, a Taurus, a Leo. I'm seeing Aquarius as well. Someone here might be pagan or Irish, Norse. That might resonate with someone. There's a tattoo on the back of this woman that has a Triskelion on it. That might be important for someone. So again, take what resonates and leave the rest. So I'm getting the sense you're very beautiful. All of my readers are beautiful, of course, but you have sort of exotic features. People think of you as very elegant, composed. You may be a bit of an enigma, though. Some people may feel that you're kind of hard to read. Some people may also see you as a bit defiant. People, this is very specific, but some people may tell you, you might get told a lot to like smile. Like people might ask you like why you're in a bad mood, or why don't you smile, or what's wrong, when you're totally fine. You just carry yourself a certain way, and yeah, so you might get that feedback a lot. I think it might have bothered you at one point, but I think you're learning how to like not care anymore. I'm trying my best to censor myself, but like as we go through, I'm gonna apologize in advance. You might hear me curse like a sailor, so sorry, not sorry. You know, if that resonates with you, hi, you're gonna find your people here. So you might have a bit of a potty mouth yourself. And I think that might surprise people. Like I get the sense that you're kind of reserved until people get to know you, or you present yourself a certain way to the world, but you're sort of enigmatic. Even people that consider themselves close to you may still feel like that there's a part of you that like they will never know. And that may be true. I get the sense that you are kind of guarded. You know, I get the sense that that's partially self-defense. Like in this card, in this representation of the Justice card, this woman's holding a katana and it's reversed. Get the sense that there's maybe you're afraid to share a part of yourself and really step into your authenticity. I get the sense, you know, maybe you've been hurt in the past and you're walking away from that, but I think it still hurts. I feel like you've been betrayed by someone close to you, and that may have taught you to really keep your guard up a lot. But in so doing, like in keeping your guard up all the time, you know, and keeping your sword drawn, it can be very isolating. It may be hard for you to really let people in. And when you do, you tend to have a very small, trusted group of friends. But I think that you might have found many of your friends like while traveling, and you've learned to put your trust in a small group of people. You're all about quality over quantity. You know, you'd rather have one really good friend or two really good friends rather than like 10 or 20 acquaintances. You're all about, you know, deep connection. And I get the sense that you may have struggled in the past with that, you know, that you may have felt a need to feel popular or like you needed to win people's affection, but you're learning to like step away from that and forge new connections. Again, I get a sense of betrayal. Like there may have been, I'm sensing heartbreak, and you know, it still hurts, but you're learning to move away from that with the Chariot here. And you have 2 3s here, the 3 of Cups and the 3 of Wands. It's the emotional realm, and the 3 of Wands. The Wands are the realm of fire. So I think you're learning how to not only rely on yourself here with the 3 of Wands, and just sort of ride the waves and see what happens, being comfortable with what's on the horizon, not feeling the need to control too much. But you're also learning to better rely on other people too, which may have been hard for you, again, because you have been betrayed. Learning how to trust and put down your sword and your facade, I think it has been a struggle for you, but I think you're learning how to be, you know, excited about life again, and see new opportunities and create new opportunities. So if that resonates with you, hi, you have found your pile. Let's take a look at the reading. Hi, pile 2. Let's get into your reading. So if that energy check resonated with you, you have found your pile. I have separated the readings out into the main questions we're going to look at today. So again, we're looking at what the new year has in store for you, and we're also reflecting on what you're leaving behind in the previous year to set the stage for the upcoming year. So what are you leaving behind from 2024 or the last year for whenever you were watching this? So we have the 6 of Cups, the 9 of Wands, and the Ace of Swords. So, this is very specific, but I think for some of you, you may have lost, this could be metaphorical. You might have feel like you have sort of lost your innocence in a way, like an end of an era. Maybe something happened to you in the last year. Again, I got the sense of betrayal in your energy check. Maybe you feel like a changed person after that. Again, we have the 9 of Wands here. Again, a sort of guardedness, a defensiveness. I think that served you in the past. You know, it was protective. And all of these defense mechanisms that we might carry with us in our lives, you know, they served a purpose for us at some point, right? Like anything that might be considered maladaptive, you know, in your day-to-day, it once served you, right? But everything is temporary. Everything has its place and has its time. Some things stay for a little while. Some things last for a lifetime. But I think this defensiveness, this feeling the need to like keep a part of yourself reserved, I think that's something that is going by the wayside. But I think what you're leaving behind here is maybe that sort of naivete. Maybe at some point you were, I get the sense you're maybe a bit trusting, perhaps too trusting in someone, and they betrayed you. This is very specific, but I think for some of you, you may have lost a pet. You may have also lost someone in your family or someone very close to you. And that also may be why you keep others at a distance. Sometimes when we're in pain, it can be difficult to be vulnerable and to be open about how you're actually feeling. But I think this new year is urging you to kind of leave behind some of that defensiveness and look back on maybe the nostalgia that you once had, whether it's memories that you had with a loved one, or that childhood naivete or childhood innocence that you had, or that innocence that you had before the betrayal, that trust that you had in others, and that sense of warmth that you felt. Learning the lessons and the importance of, keeping that sword that we had in the Justice card during your energy check, but also learning when to put it down, learning when to have our fences up and then when to burn them down. I think you're leaving behind in this last year, you're leaving behind the need to constantly be on guard and to constantly be, in defense mode. And I think, you know, the Ace of Swords upright, this card is about, you know, clear communication, insight. In this instance, you know, I think this card points to an inner knowing. Unlike the Ace of Swords in the traditional Rider-Waite, where it's, you know, a sword in the sky, sort of divine intervention almost of clear communication and insight. This deck almost gives me sort of High Priestess vibes in a sense, because it's tapping into that inner knowing. You know, this spiral staircase just keeps going and going and going into the interior of this woman's or this person's mind. And I think in upright, it's about clear communication and insight, and reversed, it's essentially the reverse of that. I think maybe not trusting yourself, not speaking your truth, not sharing your authenticity. I think you're learning to leave that behind in the last year. So again, learning to put down your defenses and knowing when to speak up. I get the sense that you may have held your tongue a lot and didn't speak up for yourself. And that may have come back to bite you in the last year. But I get the sense that that's something that's changing in the new year. So let's see what you're welcoming in the new year. So we have the Queen of Wands. That came out in another pile. That came out in pile 1. So pile 1 may have messages for you as well. Three of Cups, that came out in your energy check. Interesting. And the Eight of Wands also came out in pile 1. So you may have been drawn to pile 1, or you may also have messages for you in pile 1. Do check the description. Pile 1 did have a trigger warning, so if you do feel drawn to go back to that, just keep that in mind. So yeah, okay, so what you're welcoming in 2025, this all looks great. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of, you know, a lot of fire, lots of wands here. I think you are interesting. So like we have the defenses here from like what you're leaving behind. We've got the defensiveness, the defenses with the wands, and so we were learning how to, you know, when to put down the sword, when to, you know, put down the barriers. I think you're learning how to wield them, right? Because like you still have these wands here, right? But you're using them productively. The Eight of Wands is all about forward momentum, passion, being unified, going in the same direction, like being aligned. I get the sense that this year, what you're welcoming is tapping into your own strength, recognizing that you have this, you can light your own fire. The song Come On Baby Light My Fire is coming in for me right now. So that might resonate with someone. You may be of that era. Yeah, Come On Baby Light My Fire. This music came through in pile 1 as well. So if you're new here, I usually receive messages through music, so if that's your thing, buckle up. You're gonna get a lot of that probably because I like music. Yeah, so, and you'll probably see, like, I have a music deck, a music tarot deck too, so you'll probably see that pop up in other videos as well. Anyway, yeah, Come On Baby Light My Fire. You might be having some passionate times in the coming year. That could be fun. Oh, okay. So you have, this is a cheeky pile. Yeah. So like that facade that you put on, that whole enigma thing that I was picking up on, yeah, that's a mask. And I think deep down, the people that know you best, like these people that you're learning to like trust in, your friends, those people that are closest to you, know that that facade is really just protective. Like, you're cheeky, you're funny, you're sexy, like you're all about it. And but I think you might be, again, you felt betrayed, so like that might have made you might have been like received the messages that it was that you should be afraid of your own power. Or maybe you just became afraid of your own power, like I don't know. You received this, you internalized this belief that maybe you were told once that you were discouraged from putting yourself out there because this goes back to that betrayal card. Someone that once supported you had you doubt yourself and may have even told you that you're destructive, that your powers are destructive. And that taught you to not trust your own power, not trust your own passion. You may have been told to abandon your passions. There may have been something like you were really into, like some of you might be into the creative arts, like I'm getting maybe dance, be like an unconventional path. Yeah, maybe you tried to go at it your own way and the people in your support group were not supportive of that. Yeah, I'm also getting you may be very close to animals. Shamanism or shamanism may resonate with some people here. So herbal medicine, plant medicine, folk medicine, that may resonate with some people here. But I get the sense that you're awakening to that. You may also, I think in the new year, you may unlock some of those latent gifts. Someone here may be a fellow reader. You may practice, you may be a tarot reader. You may practice like the somatic arts, Reiki, yoga, body focus therapies, again, like maybe I'm getting ecstatic dance. Yeah, but I get that you're trusting that in this year, and I think you're finding that sense of creative like output that may have been lacking. You know, you might have felt like you had to hide that part of yourself. But I think in this new year, you're going to see an opportunity for you to really kind of let that freak flag fly, you know? And you know, they say your vibe attracts your tribe. I really think that you're going to see that in the coming year. You know, you're going to recognize your own ability to light your own fire, and that's going to light other people up as well, you know, and you're going to find your people. And if you're working on a project, I think you're going to find the support that you need, and you deserve that. You know, everyone deserves to be supported, but I think especially given some of that self-doubt that you may have struggled with, you really this has been may feel like it's been a long time coming. So let's look at some of the biggest challenges for the year. We have the Hanged Man in the reverse position, the Six of Swords also in the reverse position, and the Seven of Swords upright. So it's interesting, these colors are all kind of the same color palette. Interesting. So we have the Hanged Man, which is the number 12, and then we have the Six of Swords and the Seven of Swords. That adds up to 13, 6 and 7. And 13 is the Death card. Of course, we don't see the Death card here, but I'm getting the sense that that is part of one of the challenges in the coming year. So the Hanged Man upright is all about a new perspective, seeing things from a new perspective. And again, I'm seeing dance again. Maybe, yeah, I'm seeing dance again, or dance. Some of you may be gymnasts or into aerobics or acrobatics rather. Yeah, some of you may like perform in the circus. Yeah, perform professionally, or like are looking to form a dance troupe. Yeah, you may find a lot of expression, an ability to express yourself through dance. But anyway, the Hanged Man upright represents seeing things from a new perspective, but reverse, I think that's going to be a challenge for you. Excuse me. That may be a challenge for you. Stepping outside of your comfort zone and kind of seeing things in a new light. With the Six of Swords upright, it's about transition and movement. There may be, again, I'm seeing deception here as well. You may feel, some of you may be feeling like unfulfilled in your current jobs. Like, I get the sense that many of you here are very creative, and what you're doing now, I don't know that that's providing you with the sense of fulfillment that you want. And not only in your work life, but I feel like in other aspects of your life, you just in general feel unfulfilled. And I think that it's going back to the energy check where, you know, if you're wearing this sort of mask to the world, you're not really presenting who you are. And that, while it's protective in a sense, or it was useful in one part of your life, you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to truly be present with yourself, and you're robbing other people of the opportunity to appreciate and love you for who you are. And you're awesome, pile 2. Your challenge for this year is to tap into that and to recognize that, and you know, to recognize that you can light your own fire, and you have skills, and you have something, you have a purpose here in this life, and in order to carry that out, you have to be authentic. You have to be willing to show you to the world. And maybe that means, you know, finding your people that encourage you and accept you for who you are. I get the sense that maybe you've struggled with people like placing conditions of worth for you. You may have struggled with, like, you know, having unconditional love from people, and that taught you to put on a mask. But it's time to put that mask, take that mask off, and move on. And if that means moving on from people or situations that are no longer serving you, you know, cut the cord and ride the waves. You know, we saw that in your energy check as well. You know, you are being called to see yourself, I think, in a new perspective, you know. This person is hanging over what looks to be water. You know, see yourself in a new light. See yourself for who you really are. And move on from that perception of limitation that may be challenging for you this year. But I think on the other side of that, you're really going to see growth. You know, the other side of the Hanged Man is the Death card. And of course, that's a card that scares a lot of people, but it rarely represents actual physical death. Not to say that that's necessarily something to be afraid of either. It's part of the cycle of life and helps us to appreciate the life that we have and the lives that we have in our life. But the Death card, it represents rebirth. In fact, in this particular deck, the Death card is death and rebirth. Let's see if I can find it here. It is both. And I'll put the link in the description so you can see for it yourself if it doesn't pop up in a minute. But the Death card is about transformation and the end of one cycle and the beginning of a new one. And that's what life's all about, right? I mean, if we look at the tarot is all about cycles. We see, you know, the tarot starts with the Fool's Journey with the number 0 and proceeds with the Fool at number 1 all the way to okay, I'm not finding it, so I'll put it in the description, but all the way to the World, and the cycle starts over again. So and with each new rebirth, I think we learn something new about ourselves, our potential, our ability to relate to ourselves and the world. And I think that that's really what you're being offered, this ability to have a new perspective, see yourself in a new light, and really die to your old self, or this old idea of who you were, or who you felt you needed to be to present to the world in order to be accepted. Because and be reborn to yourself for who you really are, you know. And you'll find those people, you'll find your tribe, you'll find the people that accept you for who you are. And yeah, I think that's what lays on the horizon for you. So let's look for areas for growth in 2025. We have the Page of Swords, the Hermit, and the Nine of Pentacles. Interesting. So upright, the Page of Swords is about inspiration, new ideas, curiosity. With this card in reversed, I think it's fitting, given we're asking about areas for growth. Because if we look back here at your last card here with the Hangman reversed, about seeing things in a new perspective, I think your area for growth, with your areas for growth, you're really being called to be curious, you know, to sort of have a clean slate when it comes to yourself, who you are, what ideas you want to bring to the world, what you want to do with the world. Again, I'm picking up like dance and circus vibes. Like it looks like this woman is sort of walking on a tightrope here. Yeah, some of you are like maybe into theater, the performing arts. maybe, again, a sort of unconventional path, but I think you're being called to really trust that. You will find what you're gonna find your people when you drop the act, when you let yourself be fully present and authentic with yourself. But this is calling for you to sort of start fresh. Be curious. Maybe pick up some, this is gonna sound strange, but like there's some places, like some bookstores will do like blind dates with a book. Maybe just go into a bookstore or your local library. Some libraries do this too, and see if they'll do a blind date with a book. Pick up a new book, maybe one that you wouldn't normally read. You might learn a new skill. You might find yourself interested in a new genre. Excuse me. But be curious. I think this is calling for you to sort of take a beginner's mind approach to yourself and your life. Let go of those expectations that others may have had on you for who you are. And this is calling for, your hermit mode, going into isolation for a while and really tapping into what it is that you want, your own inner knowing, because you know what it is that you want out of life and what your purpose is. But sometimes you have to get quiet and spend that time alone. I think that you might have had lots of people telling you how you should live your life, but only you can have the answer to that. And in so doing, once you find yourself on the other side of the hermit card, that isolation doesn't last forever. Again, you're going to go back, you're going to find your support system here. And when you tap into what it is that is truly aligned with you, you're going to be on the path to success here, laying down the foundation for stability and for groundedness, not just in yourself. I mean, that's where it starts. You're going to find that stability of self. But it's also going to provide you that groundedness in the material realm in general. So I think you'll be rewarded for really finding out what's most aligned with you. And you'll see that improve your stability in your own self-identity, in your relationships, and in the material realm as well. So that is all I have for you, pile 2. I hope this resonated, and I will see you in your next reading. Bye. Hi, pile 3. If you chose this river stone, then this is your reading. Today we are taking a look at what the year ahead has in store for you. If you're watching when I upload, it's January 2025. And we are looking at what you're leaving behind from the previous year, what you're welcoming into the new year, some of the biggest challenges of this year, and then also areas for growth. Whenever you are watching this, however, keep in mind that my readings are timeless. So whenever this video finds you, you are meant to see it. As with all of my readings, these are collective readings, so keep what resonates and leave the rest. As with everything, use discernment. It's a good pro tip for life in general, not just in messages from hands on the internet. You never know when it might come in handy. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's do an energy check. And if this resonates with you, congratulations, you have found your pile. And if not, then feel free to check out one of the other piles. They might also have messages for you. So let's take a look. We have the Temperance card, number 14. We also have the Queen of Cups, So I'm seeing Aquarius, Pisces, Queen of Wands. She came out in piles 1 and 2, so you might want to check those out. Maybe some Leo vibes. Nine of Swords, Air, so Gemini, King of Pentacles, and Nine of Pentacles. Those both also came out in pile 1. So if you may have felt drawn to pile 1, you may want to check that out. Pile 1 also may have messages for you. Do keep in mind, pile 1 does have a trigger warning. I have seen a couple pop up here, so, but there may be messages there for you. But again, keep what resonates and leave the rest. So here, pile 3. I'm just gonna take a sip of some tea here. Friendly reminder, drink water. Your body needs it. So if you haven't had water today, or if you haven't had enough water today, this is your friendly reminder to drink more water. Yeah. So I am seeing, you seem like the type of person that people go to when they need advice. You may be either a counselor, or you may be studying counseling, therapy, maybe a nurse. You seem very balanced in your emotions. Like, it's hard to ruffle your feathers. You have a deep, like, inner knowing and trust in yourself and your connection with the divine. Whether you know that or not, by the way, you got it going on. So keep on doing what you're doing. Yeah, you seem, even in times of strife, like, I mean, like with the Nine of Swords, I mean, you may suffer from anxiety, depression. That may be something that you've struggled with. It may be something that you currently struggle with. Also maybe insomnia as well. I don't know if you can see here, but it's a very, very faint outline here of a bed and the pillow. But there's something that's keeping you kind of up at night. So you might struggle with insomnia, but wherever you are in your journey, just know that you're loved. And your struggles don't define you. I think you know that, though, deep down. Like, you do know that. You are, I'm going to use the term grounded just because it works, but you're also, like, comfortable being in your own waters, like being in the emotions, being in your feels, and being vulnerable. Like, you're not afraid to, like, go into the Nine of Swords and, like, really feel that. Whereas a lot of people might shy away from, like, a depth of emotion. You're not afraid to sort of wear your heart on your sleeve. That said, you are able to have that balance. You know that it's not always like sunshine and roses. You know, you're not always going to be this cool, calm, collected Queen of Cups. You know, you come for the tarot, but you really stay for the alliteration, right? You're going to see a lot of that here. If you like puns and wordplay and music, we're going to have a lot of fun here on this channel. So, hi. But yeah, you know that it's not always going to be sunshine and butterflies, right? You're not always going to have this calm, cool, collected, like, feel about you. It's not always going to be easy. Sometimes life throws you the Nine of Swords, right? And you don't always want to catch a sword, right? Because they hurt, right? Maybe if you catch it by the handle, that's fine. But you know that sometimes life's going to throw you challenges, but you have an ability to balance that light and the dark, right? Like, you know that that's how humans are. We're both light and dark, and we have to go into our shadows. Like, we have to go into the darkness in order to find the light often. I mean, that's how that works. I mean, the tarot is the hero's journey, and the hero's journey is basically the template for most of the books and movies and what media that we consume today. There's a reason for that. It resonates. But you're very good at that. Temperance can be difficult to have that balance. I get the sense that you're equally comfortable tapping into your like material self as you are like your spiritual self as well. So you're very grounded. I get the sense that you feel very comfortable in your ability to manifest. I think you're a very independent person. Yeah, I get the sense that you're very independent. You're a powerful manifester, and you feel very comfortable with that. You realize that through your independence, you've been able to really live life on your own terms, and I get the sense that you are content with that. However, there's still something that is gnawing at you. Like, I feel like you may struggle with a feeling of like unfulfilled potential. So we have the Queen of Wands here. She's very creative. She's very passionate. And this King of Pentacles, he's very grounded. Pentacles and Wands are two like very different energies. One's much more fast moving, and one's more slow. I think you may struggle actually where you do have balance in other aspects of your life. You may struggle to balance the more creative side of yourself with the more like grounded, like the more material side of yourself. So what you do for work may not be what you do for pleasure. But maybe, and maybe that's causing some anxiety, some frustration. Like, yeah, you may be thinking about changing careers and doing something that allows you to explore a more passionate side of you. But I think that does bring you anxiety. Like, you may fear that you may lose independence as a result of that. Yeah. So if that resonated with you, pile 3, let's get into your reading. Hi, pile 3. So welcome to your reading. If that energy check resonated with you, fabulous. You have found your pile. So we're going to start by looking at what you're leaving behind from the previous year. So what is it that you are leaving behind? We have the 10 of Pentacles, the 2 of Wands, and the King of Swords in reversed. That's interesting. Interesting. So leaving behind the 10 of Pentacles. So this is a very specific message, and again, only take what resonates, but I think for some of you, may have gone through a divorce or are still going through a divorce. That process can take some time. But I get the sense that like you're leaving your family behind in a sense, or at least the way in which you related to your family in the previous year, that is changing. Yeah. I think for some, there may have been a sort of dominating figure there, and you're leaving that behind. A partner maybe that was not the clearest communicator. Yeah. And it may have felt at some point that, you didn't really have much opportunity. It seems like in the last year you felt kind of stuck, like you couldn't go anywhere, like um, either literally or metaphorically, you felt sort of stunted in your ability to sort of be mobile and move and grow and do things, either from constraints from your family or a partner. Yeah. But I get the sense that you're leaving that behind. There, you may have felt sort of tied down by something that just it wasn't fit for you. It wasn't resonating with you anymore. It was holding you back. And of course, that I get the sense that that may be bittersweet for you. Change is always hard. But they say divine rejection is divine protection. Trust that everything is happening in the right time, and you're never in the wrong place. Yeah. So I think what you are welcoming in for the new year, we have the Six of Pentacles in reversed. It's interesting. The Four of Swords upright. And the Death card, which I like in this deck. It's death and rebirth, because that's what this card's all about. I talked about that a bit in pile 2, so you may have felt called to pile 2. There may be messages in there for you as well. I was actually looking for the Death card because it came up like numerologically. So anyway, I like this card in this deck because it really does point to what the Death card I think typically does represent, which is more renewal. So what you're welcoming in the new year, I think a more equitable give and take. So you have another set of pentacles. So what you were leaving behind in the last year is the Ten of Pentacles, which, is sort of it's the culmination of the end of the cycle of the Pentacles. It's that happy family, joy, abundance. And so it's an interesting thing to be leaving behind, but if things aren't equal, if there is an imbalance, if things aren't serving your highest good, to make space for what is in alignment with your highest self, sometimes we have to close one door to open another. It's cliche for a reason, because it's true. You can't have a better opportunity come in for you if you settle for a lesser opportunity. And honey, life is too short to settle. Yeah, just don't do it. And again, this doesn't have to be a family per se. It could be anything that represents a sort of structure or lineage for you. Yeah, leaving the familiarity, the comfort. You're leaving your comfort zone, and in the new year, you're welcoming in new things, a rebirth. This is an interesting card to receive in the reverse position for welcoming in. On the outside, people might think, oh, this looks like maybe a loss of money, or an unequal give and take. Upright, this card is about give and take, equanimity. But I think what you're welcoming in the new year with this card in reversed is you're welcoming in equanimity into your life. Whatever you're leaving behind, whatever this represents for you, and again, it's going to be different things to different people. This is a collective reading, whether it's a job, a career, a family, or a familiar place, a place that you had roots, a place that was stable and a foundation for you, familiar. You're leaving that behind, and that can be scary. but it wasn't right for you. It wasn't an equal give and take. And I think that you're leaving that behind, and you're welcoming in a more equitable exchange. And you're holding space for only that which serves you, that is balanced. And you're welcoming in, you're allowing yourself to rest, to really trust your inner knowing, and knowing that you're always on the right path, right? This heart here and this nest suggests a time of rest and rejuvenation. You may pay attention to your dreams. I always think dreams have things for us to reflect on. There's so much that we don't understand about that realm. I mean, we spend so much of our lives dreaming. There has to be some reason for it. I think that you may consider getting a dream journal, or if you sleep with your phone by your bed, the Notes app is great. You don't have to turn on the light. I mean, of course, be careful of the blue light. That can upset your circadian rhythm. I don't know who needs to hear that, but somebody needs to hear that. Turn on your blue light filter on your phone. And try to get better sleep in the new year. That's definitely coming through. But consider, like, try keeping a dream journal. See if there's like patterns that pop up, certain people, places, certain themes, or just even feelings that you might get. Dreams are often nonsensical, or they seem nonsensical, but you'll find that if you start to write them down, you'll notice that, your dreams often contain the similar sort of patterns. They're trying to teach you something, or at least I think they are. So yeah, consider keeping a dream journal for a little while. And for those nerds out there, I'm sure you've all heard of ChatGPT. Shout out to all my nerds, by the way. Fellow nerd, hi, you're in good company. But if you aren't already using ChatGPT, okay, try it. It's great. It has its issues, of course, but it's useful for certain things, and I have actually used it to keep my dream journal, and it's remarkably insightful sometimes. You can ask it to give you insight on your dreams, and it'll remember your dreams as well. So instead of you having to remember what you dreamed like 3 months ago, you can let the ChatGPT remember. It's remarkably good at it. So anyway, enough about that. I think that you will be welcoming in this new year, just a sort of reset, right? Like, by holding space for like what is actually in alignment with you, and a more equal give and take in your relationships, and that can be with yourself as well, by taking that time for you. It's allowing you to reset and resonate with what is actually true in your heart. And that can sometimes feel scary. But no, we're always connected. She's sleeping here with this heart, which is connected with a little red thread. And you might want to look into the concept of the red thread. The song Little Red Thread by KT Tunstall is coming through. So that might be important for someone. But if you look into the concept of red thread like mythology, and philosophy, it has different meanings depending upon which cultural representation you're looking at. But the underlying theme, regardless of where we're talking about, is that we're all sort of connected, right? Some talk about soulmates, some talk about, just being connected together, all of humanity being connected together by this sort of same thread that is the tapestry of humanity, but knowing that, I think what you're welcoming in is this just deep inner knowing that even if you may find yourself sort of hitting reset on your life and standing in your power and extricating yourself from your comfort zone, like stepping outside of what was once familiar here and the stability, even though you may find yourself on your own and starting over, you're never disconnected, right? You're always connected to source, and you'll always find the people that you need to on your path. And I think in doing that, you are going to find yourself at a moment of, death and rebirth. The death card scares most people, not most people, some people. But it's a great card. The death card is, I would say this is one of my favorite decks because it depicts this card, I think, the most accurately. The death card is about death and rebirth. Everything moves in cycles. And in holding space for things that are more an equal give and take in your life, you're allowing yourself to start over and sort of shed the skin of the old you, die to the old you and the old dynamics and places and people that once defined your life, and starting over. And that doesn't mean cutting cords with all of those things or people or places, but it could mean that. But I think it's more about reframing how you relate to them. Cord cutting might be important for some of you. If you're unfamiliar with the concept of cord cutting, you might want to look into that concept. There may be some unhelpful ties there. But let's take a look at some of the biggest challenges for your year ahead. So we have the Six of Wands. It's interesting in this position. The Nine of Wands. That came out in a previous pile as well, so you might want to check out some of the other piles. And then the Eight of Swords, that also came out, I believe, in pile 1. Interesting. So this is an interesting card to get in the challenge position, because upright, the Six of Wands is all about victory. I mean, this woman is in the spotlight. She's victorious. So to be in the position of your challenge is interesting, but I get the sense that maybe some of you may not feel comfortable being in the spotlight. You might feel comfortable sort of playing the supporting actor, even in your own life, The movie The Holiday is coming in right now. Like, that might be important for some people. That might be, it's we're kind of around the holiday season now anyway, but there's a scene in the movie where Kate Winslet's character is talking to a gentleman who used to write movies, and she's struggling, and he says to her that she's playing the best friend instead of the leading lady in the movie. So he's explaining things to her as if they were in a movie, and that completely resonates with her. She was not playing the leading lady in her own life, and I get the sense that she wasn't comfortable being in the spotlight. It's a cute movie. Watch it if it resonates, or it may be important to you already. But I get the sense that that's kind of where you are. You may not feel comfortable playing the leading role in your own life. You may feel more comfortable playing the supporting role, or for supporting others and maybe putting your own needs aside. And maybe that's what happened in your family. Maybe you were used to putting your own needs aside for the greater good. And that could be your family, like your blood family, or it could be your family at work. There's a lot, it could be your religious group or spiritual group. There's many different ways in which we play those similar roles. But I think regardless, one of your challenges is learning how to step into your own power and being the center of attention. And also being a bit learning how to be defensive, standing in your own power, like being comfortable being in the spotlight, but also learning how to set boundaries, I think, here. Learning how to set boundaries and also release the sense of self that had kept you feeling trapped. I think maybe you got so used to identifying with a certain way of relating to the world, putting others' needs above your own, that you forgot what it was like to want something for yourself. And I feel like that is very restrictive, or was very restrictive. I think you're learning to let go of that. But you have to give yourself permission to release that which doesn't serve you anymore. Upright, this woman is bound, but she has the ability to release her from her bindings. And I think that you have that ability. And sometimes that means you have to set hard boundaries. You have to be defensive. That's okay. It's okay to say no. I don't know who needs to hear that, but someone needs to hear that. It's okay to say no. It's not selfish. And selfish isn't a 4-letter word either. It's okay to step into your power, and you should. And this is the year for you to step into your power. So with that said, let's look at your areas for growth. We have the Ace of Pentacles, the Moon, number 18, and the 3 of Swords. Interesting. So I get the sense in the coming year, it's going to be like you're starting over. Yeah, you're going to be starting over. You're going to be planting new seeds. You're going to be deciding what you want to plant. You're going to have to you're going to have to feel, I feel like for some of you, maybe you've had too many defenses in the last year, in a sense, to protect your heart space. There's a lot of pain here, a lot of heartache. But on the other side of this, there's growth. I think your area for growth here is really learning how to integrate some of this pain, leaving that familiarity of the 10 of Pentacles, leaving that seeming groundedness is extraordinarily painful, but you know that it wasn't really stable, in the sense that it wasn't sustainable for you as a person. You're learning how to strip back what isn't you and what isn't in alignment with who you are, so that you can start over again. You know, you were with the Ten of Pentacles, and here the cycle goes back around and you start over with the Ace. You know, and I think you're starting over, and that you're planting the seeds, but it's up to you to decide what you want to plant. You know, what is it that you want? You're gonna have to go into the darkness, your shadow, your pain. It's never really a fun thing to do, but it's probably one of the most important things you will do in your life. Our hardest lessons are our greatest teachers. They just are. And they build character, and they allow us to truly step into our power if we let them. I think that truly going into your shadow and examining, like, what hurts and where can I stitch things up? Like, can I bring this back together again? You know, in the Three of Swords and the Rider-Waite deck, the swords are actually in the heart. And in this deck, it's interesting. I don't know if you can see this, but the Three of Swords aren't in the heart. The Three of Swords, this woman has as a tattoo on her shoulder. So they're not in the heart anymore. She's wearing them. Like, it's a part of, or they're wearing them. It's like, it's become a part of them. It's tattooed, it's permanent on their skin. But they're out of the heart. But the heart is also out of the woman as well. So it's like this simultaneous feeling of just immense grief, but also feeling disconnected from your heart space. So I think an area for growth for you in the coming years to really try to put those pieces back together again. Like, take the swords, remove that sense of identity with it, and like, use it to stitch it back together. You know, release the binding here. You know, take the sword, release that egoic identity, cut the string, sew it back up. It's not going to be good as new, but better than new, I think. You know, you may look into the concept of kintsugi. Kintsugi is a Japanese form of taking things that were once broken, like ceramics, for example, pottery, and basically putting them back together with often gold is I would say the most common aesthetic that you see. But they would take if this heart were a piece of pottery, this broken piece would be fused together with gold. And what's interesting is that broken part that was broken is actually stronger when it's fused with the gold. So it's sort of like transmuting like base metals into gold. Learn to transmute your pain into something better. I mean, that's what life's all about, right? So I think that that's a real area for growth for you in the coming year. I hope that this resonated for you, pile 3, and I will see you in the next reading. Hi, pile 4. If you chose this small river stone here, then this is your reading. Just a reminder, today we are looking at what the year ahead has in store for you. So if you're watching when I'm uploading, it's January 2025, but keep in mind, all of my readings are timeless. So whenever this video finds you, it was meant to find you. As with all of my readings, use discernment. So take whatever resonates and leave the rest. First, we're going to start out with an energy check. So if this resonates, fabulous, you have found your pile. And if not, feel free to check out one of the other piles, as the other piles might have messages for you as well. So without further ado, let's get into it and look at your energy check. So we're starting out with the Three of Swords, seeing air, earth with the Ace of Pentacles, the Hierophant, the Tower, number 16, the Five of Swords, and the Sun in reverse. So we see two fives, the Five of Swords and the Hierophant upright. So the number 5 might be significant for some of you. The Sun, 19, might be significant for some of you as well. I'm seeing that you're a very passionate person. I think the phrase "still waters run deep" may resonate with some of you. You may seem cool and calm on the outside, maybe emotionless as well. Some people might perceive you as being very stoic, perhaps not showing a lot of emotion. On the outside, sort of guarded, yeah, kind of closed off. But I think deep down you're very emotional. You have a lot of love to give. I get the sense that you've been through a lot of heartache in your life. Some of here may struggle with like mental health. Anxiety is coming through pretty strongly. Feelings of self-worth, like feelings of low self-worth. And if that resonates with some of you, just know you're loved and accepted. It's some of these hardest trials in our life have the potential to be our greatest teachers. I feel like it's when we feel like we're at our most low points when we really find our own inner strength. And I think that might resonate with some of you here. The externals in your life, like I'm getting romantic relationships, maybe even familial as well for some of you. They didn't quite have that growth that you were looking for. I get the sense that you thought that there was the beginning of maybe something new, a new potential with a partner in this last year. I get the sense you're still currently struggling with some of these emotions. It was a real tower moment. It's interesting. We have like the Three of Swords right on above the tower here, and the tower can be sort of divine intervention or fate, things that feel like they're out of control. They're out of our own control. And they can cause a lot of upset. You know, everything that we might have accepted as our normal day-to-day routine, everything that we might have come to rely on feels like it's been crumbling. And I think that those things that you may have come to rely on, whether they be relationships or a sense of stability and familiarity in your life, having those expectations dissolve has really led you to question, you know, where your values lie, where you're going. I get the sense that you may be going through a sort of dark night of the soul and really questioning your new beginnings. You're really being called to work. This is part of your path. As I said, it's when we feel like we are at our lowest that we have the potential to truly tap into our own inner power. And I think that's what you're really being called to do. The Hierophant is all about recognizing that inner power, going within and recognizing that, you know, you have that strength within yourself. I think it's interesting that this is above the sun in reverse. So it can feel like you're not there. You know, this is such a contrast to this feeling of the Three of Swords, but know that this is temporary. So the swords, like any of the other suits in the minor arcana, they're minor arcana. So these are day-to-day things. And as with everything, you know, energy is fluid, both minor and major arcana. You always have free will. And as with all of my readings, always use discernment. Take only whatever resonates with you and leave the rest. But these minor arcana, so like the Ace of Pentacles reversed, the Three of Swords upright, the Five of Swords upright, you have an even split of minor and major arcana. And these major arcana, I think, are indicating a not so subtle, like, paradigmatic shift. You're being presented with the opportunity to really change the way in which you see the world. You can either choose to identify with this pain and, you know, get swallowed up in the anxiety of this tower movement, that loss of love, relationship, love of self, love of others, the people that you may have once come to trust. You may feel a sense of betrayal. But it's those moments that are really encouraging you to tap into your own inner strength. I get the sense that this is going to be, you know, we haven't quite gotten into your reading yet. This is just the energy check, but I get the sense that this is going to be a running theme for you throughout the year, really tapping into your own inner strength and recognizing that, you know, it's going to take baby steps, you know, one step at a time, but you're going to get here. And some readers don't read reversals of cards. For me, I like to use my own intuition, of course. I think seeing the sun in reversed, I mean, that can, to me, the sun in the reversed makes me think of the moon, which is the card of illusions, fears, anxiety, things that might come out at night or be perceived in the shadows can seem a lot scarier, but when we shed light on them and we bring them out into the daylight, under the light of the sun, we see things from a different perspective. So I think there is the potential here to turn the sun upright, but it's really calling on you to take this opportunity. This is where you have the minors here, the Ace of Pentacles in reverse and the Five of Swords. I think you're really being called upon to draw upon your personal agency and seek out brighter times for yourself in the new year. Yeah, I'm sensing some of you, maybe earth signs are coming through fairly strongly, air signs as well. I'm seeing Gemini, Leo, Taurus is coming through. Sagittarius as well. Some of you may have tattoos. In fact, you might have gotten a tattoo to symbolize, you know, to remind yourself of the significance of some of these events, really to serve as a reminder for what you've gone through and how to proceed going from, you know, where you are to where you want to be. If you look at this Three of Swords, this came up in another pile as well. If you look at this Three of Swords in the traditional Rider-Waite, the swords are actually pierced through the heart. But in this card, the swords are actually tattooed on this woman's shoulder, or this person's shoulder, and they've been taken out of the heart, and we see this splitting. I believe this was pile 1. So you may be called to check out pile 1. Do be aware that there is a trigger warning in pile 1. There are resources in the description box, so do check that out. But I believe this resonates for this pile as well. This person has a tattoo here on their shoulder. I think to remind them of the pain of these swords. I think, as I said before, it's our painful moments that really can teach us our own strength and our own resilience. We're being called to find our own inner strength and, you know, tap into our own Hierophant. The concept of kintsugi may be relevant for someone here. You may want to look into the concept of kintsugi. If you're not familiar, it's a concept in Japanese aesthetics where you take a broken piece of pottery, ceramic, and you, in those broken spots, like say you have a vase or a bowl, you put it back together and you seal up the cracks like you would in this heart with gold. That's the most common aesthetic. And it's in those broken places, or where the ceramic was most broken, that you see actual more strength in these areas. It's fortified in the broken places. And I get the sense that you're really seeing that. You're being called to recognize that you are stronger in those places where you once thought you were broken. So anyway, that is what I see for the energy check. If that resonates with you, fabulous. You have found your pile. And again, if not, feel free to check out one of the other piles. But stick around if that resonated. We're going to get right into your reading. Okay, pile 4. So if that energy check resonated with you, we are going to get into your reading now. And I've separated it into a couple of piles based on the questions we're looking at. So we're looking at what you're leaving behind from the last year, what you're welcoming in, your biggest challenges for the year ahead, and then areas for growth. So let's take a look at what you're leaving behind from the previous year. So we have the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Cups in reverse, and the Three of Swords again. This is interesting. So this kind of confirms what I was picking up on in the energy check. So I get the sense that, you know, you're going through a breakup of some sort. This, you know, again, take only what resonates. This may not be romantic for all of you, but I'm getting for several of you here, you're going through like it's disillusionment in your love life, but this could also relate to dynamics that are not romantic, you know, that are more platonic or familial. But you feel disillusioned, I think, in a lot of pain in your heart space. But I think that that's something that you're called to leave in the last year and take those lessons from that last year and recognize your inner strength and bring that into the new year. You know, we can't accept an opportunity that is better for us if we accept an opportunity that is not suited for us. So sometimes, you know, this came up in another pile. The cliche phrase of like one door closes, another door opens. That's kind of it. I mean, closing the door on this chapter of your life allows you to have more space for another dynamic that is meant for you. They say that rejection is divine protection. You may be feeling like rejected. I get the sense that for some of you, you may feel betrayed by your partner. There may have been a sort of infidelity or really just misalignment. You may have felt lied to. I get the sense there was a lot of passion in this relationship. There was, again, this is for romantic relationships, but, you know, we see a heart in this card as well as a heart here, but the Ace of Cups is in reverse, which is suggesting, you know, pouring out that opportunity. And you have two aces here, which represents potential and beginnings. So I think what you're leaving behind is this idea that you might have had about what love is, you know. You're recognizing that, you know, you feel disillusioned. I think you're leaving behind a dynamic that wasn't working for you. And even though that these are both aces, the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Cups, and those typically represent the beginnings, I get the sense that for many of you, this was actually quite a deep relationship for you. So you had evolved beyond the beginning stages of the relationship. But I also get for some of you, this was a very turbulent relationship. So we have wands and we have cups. So that's fire and water. I think for some of you, it was very hot and cold. And for some, I'm getting maybe like a toxic kind of push-pull dynamic for some of you, like codependency or like maladaptive attachment styles. So like one of you may have been avoidant or anxious or anxious avoidant, and you kind of triggered each other. So like when it was good, it was really good, like it was very passionate. But when it was bad, I get the sense that it was very turbulent. So very hot and cold. Some of you may have actually reunited with an ex-partner as well. But ultimately, things didn't pan out, and you're going through that, or you were going through that heartbreak. But I think that that's something that is leaving you in the last year. So things... You have an opportunity to move beyond that. This is clearing you out for something greater, for a relationship that's more in alignment with what you truly deserve. But this was an important soul lesson for you, to teach you of the power of your own strength. And also I get the sense that, you know, to not give your power away. You know, when we get in relationships, there's a very real potential to kind of lose ourselves. And I think that you're being called to find yourself again, find what fills your own cup, because we can't fill, or we can't give rather, from an empty cup. So I think this is teaching you to learn how to fill your own cup. Find out what lights your own fire from the inside, because once you know that, you're more able to set healthy boundaries with yourself and seek out relationships that are in alignment with what you deserve and what you want. So I really think that that's something that you may still currently be going through that. I think some of that energy is going to carry itself into the new year. But I get the sense that this year is going to be very much about honoring what is in alignment with you, and recognizing your own self-reliance. So let's take a look at what you're welcoming in the new year. So we have the 9 of Wands. Again, more fire energy. The 10 of Wands in reverse, also more fire energy, and the 8 of Cups. It's interesting. So yeah, again, I get the sense of like walking away from what no longer serves you, toward the sun. I mean, and you had the sun in the energy check, right? The sun was in reversed. It may have felt like all hope was lost, but just what popped into my head just now was, I don't know, some of you might be fans of like Dante's Inferno. I'm hearing like all hope is lost, abandon all hope, all ye who enter here. I don't know, some of you might be into like literature or Italian literature, or some of you may be Italian. If you feel called or haven't read Dante's Inferno, great book. There's several in the series. Don't be intimidated. There's lots of really good translations of it. But yeah, it might feel like you're kind of going through the journey that Dante sort of paints in Dante's Inferno, where he's like going through hell, right? And it might feel like that. I'm getting like Paolo and Francesca vibes, which is sort of in the beginning where there's an infidelity, and that kind of brings me back to this. So I get the sense that for some of you, there may have been infidelity, and you're learning to walk away. So you're walking away from that in the new year. And I think, again, this goes back to learning to tap into your own power, recognizing your own resilience. Like, you've got a lot of wand energy, so there's a lot of fire, passion, motivation, creativity. You might have felt like that was lost. you know, in your tower moment. But I think you're learning to stand into your power and recognize when defensiveness is good, you know, when to keep up your boundaries, to keep others out, and to stand in your own power and to light your own way. And also to let the burdens go. So upright, the 10 of Wands is about being overburdened and overexerted. But I think in the 10 of Wands, you're learning to let some of that struggle go and move on. You know, both of these, in both of these cards, this person is walking away, letting go of their burdens. And I think for some of you, you may find solace in, you know, talking about some of what the past year's been like, the challenges you've gone through, and then what intentions you want to set for the new year, sharing those with your community, sharing those with people who you really trust. In this card, this heavy load, some of it is being carried by the animals. So learn how to maybe share some of what you're going through. You never know. You may feel like you don't want to burden others with your problems, but learning how to give and receive, I think, is also a lesson that you're going to be learning in the new year. There's people here that want to help you. And again, this kind of goes back to the Dante thing I was picking up. You know, you might find your Virgil, you know, your guide through this year that's going to help you go through these processes, you know, and that might show up in the form of several people. So be open, be curious, use discernment. You know, don't be too open, but to the point where you allow yourself, you know, to maybe walk into unsafe territory. But I get the sense that this is very much you walking away, and in the new year, you're going to be walking away from things that no longer serve you so that you can make space for the sun, abundance, and because that's what she's walking towards. Yeah, I mean, even here with the 8 of Cups, you see this bowl that has fire in it that's on the water. This goes back to that hot and cold that I was talking about and what you're leaving behind. I feel like you're leaving that behind, this hot, cold dynamic in search of something more stable, in search of your sun. So that is what I see for what you're welcoming into the new year. I think in search of your sun, I'm getting the sense that in order to do that, you're going to have to look at its opposite. So that means looking into your shadows, looking into the moon. That came up also in your energy check. So we haven't seen the moon card yet, but I have a feeling that that's going to be important for you. Looking in order to get to that place of abundance, stability, the radiance of your sun, you're going to have to go into the shadows, your fears, your illusions, bring the darkness out into the light, and, you know, really tap into your darkness. There's I'm sure you're all familiar with, or if you're not, check out the poet Rumi. One of his poems says, "The wound is where the light enters you." And I definitely was picking up on that earlier. Like, again, that kind of goes back to the concept of kintsugi. I definitely get that that's where you're going to see your stability here. So let's get into some of the biggest challenges that you're going to face in the coming year. So if you're watching this, my video cut out right before we were going to talk about the biggest challenges that you're going to face this year. So I'm getting the sense there may be some fear in terms of really going into your darkness, going into your pain, which of course is understandable, but I think this year is really about teaching you your strength and your own resilience. And in many ways, it's those things which are the most painful that have the potential to teach us the most important lessons. And this came up in another pile. Our hardest experiences are often our most important teachers. And I think if you take that approach, you take that perspective in the new year, that's going to serve you really well. So let's look at some of your biggest challenges in the new year. We've got the Justice card, the Hierophant again. It's interesting that came up in your energy check, and the Tower, which also came up in your energy check. So I think rather than another Tower moment, I think that this is kind of a continuation of the last year's energy. Progress is often not linear, and sometimes these things take a long time to, process through. And often the Tower card kind of turns our world sort of upside down. Things that we once had a sense of stability with and familiarity with, and provided us with a sense of comfort and groundedness, were suddenly, thrown upside down. In the Tower card, we see the lightning. It's very much a sort of Deus ex machina, hand of God. Things feel out of our control, but I think you're being called to really bring things back into balance here with the Justice. And again, this goes back to seeing both the light and the darkness within yourself, tapping into your pain, tapping into that, tapping into what you're truly feeling. Are there ways in which you're maybe hiding parts of yourself? This came up in another pile, but I'm seeing a balance of light and dark, masculine and feminine. Again, this doesn't necessarily adhere to like gender or anything like that. All genders are welcome and loved here. For some of you, you may identify with maybe being gender fluid. I think, so I'm getting Virgo, Libra. You're really being called to bring things back into balance for yourself. Again, the moon is coming up very strongly. Interesting. So if we take the Hierophant and the Tower, the 5 and the 16, that adds up to 21, and 21 might be significant for someone here. 21 is also the World card, so that's kind of the ending and also the beginning of a cycle. So like in the tarot and in the hero's journey, things move in cycles. So things start with the Fool's journey with the card 0, and then end with the World, which in the traditional Rider-Waite deck, there is the symbol of a circle on the card. And I think that this year is the ending of one cycle and the beginning of a new one. Your biggest challenges are all major arcana too. So that's really interesting. That may seem like things are a bit out of control, but it's meant to teach you that you have free will, you have agency. Things aren't set in stone. You don't have to stay in this place of defensiveness and heartache. You can learn how to set healthy boundaries here, and really step into your own power. I think you're really being called to do that. That may be challenging for you in this year, but yeah, I think that that's an important lesson for you to learn in the coming year. Seek out any areas of your life where you sense an imbalance, whether it's in your relationships, your career. If there's anything that's not serving you, cut it out. And that's going to require you to go inwards and really contemplate, what do you want? What do you deserve? What are some things that you may have thought you wanted, but turned out in the light of day didn't turn out to be what you wanted? What can you cut out to make room for what you do want and do deserve? Yeah, so that's what I'm seeing for your biggest challenges. Let's look at areas for growth. So we see the Empress card. Interesting. So we see the moon here on this card. So fertility, abundance. We see the Five of Pentacles in reverse. And here we have it. This definitely can. So we have the moon card. And it's interesting. We have the moon here and the moon here. So the moon was kind of calling at me throughout your entire reading. And I think that that's going to be your overall theme for this year. Again, like we see the balance of light and dark, and this came through in the Justice card too, about balance. And if you look here in the Justice card, you see the white here in one cup and the black here in another. And in here in the moon card, again, black and white, but they're kind of reversed. I think that's interesting. I think you're being called to really look, again, go inwards, go into your waters, go into your feels, and really bring your darkness into the light and see things for really what they are. And I think you're going to, in the process of doing that, really see your stability. So again, we have two major arcanas here, the Empress and the Moon. I think your areas for growth, with the Five of Pentacles here being at the center. Upright, this card is all about scarcity mindset and lack. But if you look here, I think in the reversed in this position, I see it in a more positive light for you. So if you look at this card, you see the key and a keyhole here. Things might seem like, you know, you're feeling out in the cold, but you have the key here within, like you can get up and unlock the door here. You have that capability to sort of free yourself. And again, this is a minor arcana. So even though things might seem out of control with your Tower moment and some of the things that may seem more out of your control, you have agency to pick up that key and really look at your mindset. Be careful of the way in which you're thinking about things. It may be easy in this coming year to really feel aligned with this victim mentality or feelings of lack. This came up in another pile as well, but I'm getting a sense of maybe imposter syndrome or feelings of unworthiness. Really try to work on that. You may benefit from like journaling, automatic writing, like go into when you're sitting in quiet contemplation, just write about the things that scare you, write about the things that you're feeling, and with non-judgment, just let yourself write and see what comes out. It doesn't have to be writing, you know, it could be in any form of expression. I get that some of you here are very creative and you might find healing through the arts. So that could be music, music, art, some form of performance. Some of you may be performers. That's coming through quite strongly. You may feel the sense for like external validation. But again, this year is really about you tapping in and finding your own internal validation, like really going in and tapping into your own inner wisdom. You have all of this abundance within you, but this fertility here in the Empress, this fecundity, this abundance. Look, if you look at this, it's tied directly to the moon. So really tapping into that fertility is going to require you to go into this energy here and really tap into that. But I think in so doing, it may seem difficult, but you're going to find that you're leaving some of this pain behind from the previous year. And really stepping into your abundance. I think this year is going to see you really tapping into your feelings, going with the flow here. And I think you might see a project that you may have been working on in the last year that felt sort of thwarted. You might have lacked support. Again, this is coming through in like the creative arts. So getting some of you here are musicians. It might have felt thwarted in the last year and like all hope was lost. But I think that in doing some of this inner work, you're really going to tap in and start to manifest some of those things onto the physical plane. You know, you're going to meet people that are going to want to support you and be with you on the journey as you start to find more of that stability. You start to find your sun, because that, I think, again, is at the end of this all. So when you go through this moon phase, you're going to find your sun. You know, you're going to be walking away with this Eight of Cups towards the sun. And don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, don't be afraid to lay down some of your burdens and rely on other people. You may have been taught that you had to do everything by yourself. That may be something that you have picked up in childhood that may have served you then, but now's a different time. You know, things like the moon go in different phases. So this is a time for you to maybe rely not only on your own inner strength, but also be willing to ask for help and accept help. So I hope that resonated with you. And if you like my content, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in your next reading. Bye.